Good morning and welcome everybody to this training session on the non-centrally authorized products in the web-based PLM portal eAF. So we have had a very large number of participants, perhaps more registered users than we expected. And as mentioned there by my colleague Isabella, we do have a live streaming enabled. So if for whatever reason you would need to leave in the middle or your colleagues are desperate to get in, but they cannot, we have a live streaming, and the details for the live streaming can be found from the event page and from the Slido. But without further ado, let's get into the content. So today we'll talk a little bit about what the eAF, web-based eAF and the PLM portal is. Then we'll do, I'll give you a training in the actual PLM portal eAF to mainly highlight the differences and the new features related to the non-centrally authorized products in the web-based eAF. We will have time for the questions and answers, and then we will be finishing at 11:30 Central European time. Just a few housekeeping tasks. Please use the Slido to ask any questions. So as you can imagine, we have approximately 1,000 participants here in WebEx, and of course more will be joining us on the live demo. So we may receive a large number of questions, and we may not be able to answer all those questions today, but we will collect them and we will reply in a timely manner. And we have also arranged specific Q&A sessions where you can ask more questions. Of course, the interaction in Slido is voluntary, and you can remain anonymous if you wish to do so. Please note that we are recording this session, and we will make it available on EMA's YouTube channel and on the event page. And as usual, we also publish the recording on the eSubmissions website. And just to remind, the live broadcast is now available, so colleagues can join through that as well. Here are still the details for the Slido. So please join us on Slido and ask your questions in there. Please note that, of course, while I'm presenting, I won't be able to answer in writing. I have some colleagues here on the session who may be able to answer some questions, but we will answer the most voted questions during the live session. So please upvote the questions you definitely want to hear answered live during today's session. And here, just a quick overview of what we are doing here today. So as I mentioned, we'll do a quick intro. We'll look at the timelines for the variation application form on PLM portal. What are the most important things for marketing authorization holders to do? How to get access to the PLM portal eAF. We have also listed our most pertinent or known issues, so that you don't need to report on those issues. We're already aware, and we will be addressing them. Then we'll have this live demo where I will show you how to navigate through the web-based eAF, and then we'll look at the next steps. So here, just a very, very quick reminder. So why are we doing this web-based application form? So as most of you would know, we have the current PDF forms in use since 2011 or 12. The technology is now quite outdated, and it is a pain to open those forms for applicants to edit, and also, of course, for us regulators to open and view them. So we are now providing a modern web-based user interface where applicants will input the data in a easy manner. We pre-fill as much data as we can from our SPOR system, mainly from PMS, and then you can export a human-readable PDF, and that PDF also contains a machine-readable Fire XML. for use to be used to fill in data in receiving systems. Currently, in our interactive PDF, we have limited use of structured data. Now, with the web-based form, we are moving ISO IDMP compliant structured data to populate the forms and then reuse this good quality data in further systems. And of course, currently it is a bit of labor intensive, although one must say it's also quite flexible. But with flexibility comes also these manual steps. So now there is quite a lot of automation and pre-filled fields in the web-based forms. And here, just a super quick reminder, what will change and what not. So we will have a web-based system where the applicants have to log in to fill in the application forms. Today, we have the variation application form for humans products. We will in future provide also the other forms, for example, the initial marketing authorization application form and the renewal form. There will be human and veterinary forms. And of course, these forms are already in production for centrally authorized products. And we have just launched the non-centrally authorized products in the form as well. And important to note what doesn't change. So we will still have a PDF that you will still include inside your ECTD package when you submit. And the actual process of how the variations are handled also doesn't change. And then one of our most asked questions, of course, when is this all happening? When can we use it? So just to show you a little bit of the past, we did go live for the human caps in November 22. So that's almost 2 years ago now. We then launched strongly recommended use following an updated caps release this May. Now in October, just this Monday, we released all non-centrally authorized products in the web-based application form. And of course, now we will just continue working on improving different features in the form. And we are getting very close to our Q1 next year, where we will be strongly recommending the use of this web-based form for all products, including the non-centrally authorized products. We will then, of course, after that, once we have all the features available, we will confirm that the forms are ready, the minimum viable product is there, and we can move to have a final UAT to check that we have all the features available. And after that, a transitional period will start to move to mandatory use of these forms. But this is still ahead of us, most likely next year. So we will be announcing a lot more information on the timelines as we move on. And here, just to give us a little bit background, so the key points. So in the previous quarters this year, what did we do? So we know we have announced in the past that the non-centrally authorized products are coming. We found more issues in PMS with the data than we had anticipated. However, finally, PMS went live in May, and subsequently then the non-centrally authorized products were released first in product UI and now soon after also in the web-based eAF. We have added new features, and we have done two key things in the Q3. So we have released quite a big performance improvements that now allow us to have these non-centrally authorized products in the system, but also allow the system to function in a more optimal way when we know that there will be a much larger number of concurrent users, because we know that the centrally authorized products were just a tip of an iceberg, and there will be much more users and usage for the non-centrally authorized products. We have also updated the product search. So this is now a lot more faster and more intuitive, we hope. But while we were working on these things, we also found that there are still quite a few data issues in PMS for caps and non-caps. We have also found that there are some access issues and OMS integration related issues that are affecting the PLM portal, IRIS, and UPD. And we will need to ensure that we have fixed and addressed all these issues before we can launch our UAT that I mentioned earlier and before we can move into the transitional period. We also found a number of bugs in the functionalities relating to non-caps in the web-based eAF. So, of course, it is very important that we address these bugs and maybe lack in functionality before we move into the recommended use for non-caps. And we also know that we need to still implement further performance improvements. So there are sections in the form where the performance is less than ideal. You may see that during the live training session today, but please note that we are working hard. The technical team is actually working on solving these very issues as we speak. And then, of course, as I mentioned, for the future, we will be recommending the use for non-caps in the beginning of 2025, but already now from October this year, we can recommend the use for EMA-led mixed cap, non-cap work sharing procedures. So this is already enabled. So this is the first use case that we have launched in production where non-centrally authorized products can be included in the application forms. We're also working on something really important. So those of you who've accessed the form, you may have noticed that the present and proposed section is, let's say, less than optimal. So we are working to improve the design and the layout, making it more user-friendly and improving the performance of that particular section. And then just a quick reminder on the key actions for the marketing authorization holders. So, of course, in order to access this web-based form, you must have a role for your organization in EMA's access management system. So it is not like the interactive PDF where you just pick up a form from the website and anyone can access it. Now you must have a role in IAM for both your organization and both for the user. Then you, of course, log into the PLM portal eAF, and you should create the eAF to view the products that are available for you. And in there, you can, of course, do this using the product UI, or you can use the eAF to verify that products are displayed correctly. And if you need to make any changes, you can, of course, submit through to XEVMPD any corrections. Again, important reminders. Please do read the eAF user guide for navigation. It's a very important document where we are also highlighting any issues and known limitations, similarly as in the release notes. It's very, very important that you already now start familiarizing yourself with the system by filling in these eAFs. So ideally, you would do this in parallel with your PDF eAFs, because as I mentioned earlier, you cannot yet submit the non-centrally authorized forms to the NCAs. For EMA-led work sharings, yes, but it is important that you already start looking how to do this. You could potentially even fill in the form, and once we launch the recommended use in January, you have already filled in your form and you know how to do it. Again, something very important. Please start comparing if there are any issues or problems in the portal preventing you using the form, and then please provide consolidated feedback to EMA. So why I'm saying consolidated feedback. So please talk to other colleagues within your companies, ideally in your industry organizations, and consolidate the feedback so that we will get, instead of getting 500 times the same comment, we would get more consolidated feedback, and this will allow us more time to actually fix the issues rather than reading about the issues. and please send them via email to the PLM value stream email address. Of course, this is something that is very exceptional request. Normally, we would always ask you to raise a ticket, but now, as we need to ensure that we can timely respond to tickets that are for ongoing production applications, we are asking you exceptionally raising change requests through the email address. And then very quickly, just to show the different roles that we have available. So please note, we have the admin roles. The admin roles are shared with the other PLM admin roles and the Iris admin roles. So if your organization already has an admin role, the same product UI admin can approve your eAF roles, or the Iris admin can approve your eAF roles. However, it is important that to actually fill in the form, you request for industry role. So you have the contributor, that is a very, very limited access, only to edit. Then you have the applicant manager, where you can view, edit, and export. You can do everything, but only to your own applications, or of course, if you're invited to co-edit a form that has been created by your colleague. And then the widest access is for the eAF applicant coordinator, where you can view, edit, export. You can see all the applications also created by your colleagues from the same organization or from the organizations that you're affiliated to. We also have an NCA role, but we won't concentrate on that today. And on the next slide, you will just see the flow. We won't look at this in detail now, because this is something that you will need to do on the background to gain access to our forms. Then let's look at the known issues. So we have identified some issues in the form itself, technical issues, and then also issues related to the PMS data. Most of those PMS and product UI issues were already announced yesterday during a product UI training session that was organized by my colleagues Veronica and Marcos. But we also have eAF specific issues, or how the PMS data issues appear in eAF might be slightly different from how they appear in the product UI. Please note that the majority of these are already prioritized, or at least if we are not fixing them yet, we have planned a timeline when to fix them. An important reminder again, so please don't open a ticket in the service desk if you identify a known issue related to the technical features in the form. We are already aware of these issues. We know we're solving them, so we don't need a new ticket. But let's have a look at those issues that we're aware of in the next slides. And just an important note, not all data issues affect all products, and not all technical issues affect all procedure types and applications that you fill in. So as also detailed yesterday in the product UI training, we have these products, what we called nullified. So these products can be seen in the variation application form as active, valid products. So they appear as duplicates to other products. And if you do select these products in the form, in most cases, it will cause an error in the form. You won't be able to move forward, or the form might give you a really weird, actually unrelated error message. We are working to remove the nullified products from the eAF in our next planned production release, which is towards end of October, on the 28th of October. Please note that, of course, we may find issues in the fixes. If it doesn't come out on the 28th, we will try and get this into production as soon as possible. And here are details how you can check the PMS IP to see if your products are impacted by this nullified status. You would also most likely notice in the eAF that you have a medicinal product that doesn't contain any packages. That's normally an indication that there are nullified products, but there are various scenarios, and it may behave slightly differently for centrally authorized products and non-centrally authorized products. then you will see for those countries that use Cyrillic characters or Greek characters, you may notice some question marks in the full name of the product in the eAF. The same issue will appear in the product UI. So this is something that you will actually need to fix yourself in XEVMPD. So this is not really a data issue. It appears as a data issue, but please, if you see this, look into how to fix this on the background, because unfortunately, this is not something that we can technically fix on the eAF side or on the PMS side. So then, important for those countries, the multilingual countries, say Finland, Belgium, Liechtenstein, only one product name is shown in the main page of the eAF product search, and the same name will also be in the exported PDF. In product UI, you will find all the different product names. So for example, for Finland, you would find the product names in Finnish and in Swedish. But when you're in eAF, you will see rather randomly, the Finnish products will have the name either in Finnish or in Swedish. If the product name is in Swedish and you're trying to find the product by the product name in Finnish, you will not find it. So you will have to use a different search attribute. We are working to address this issue. Sometimes some full product names are very, very long. The names appear truncated in the eAF, so you will only partially see the full product name column. And unfortunately, the column width is fixed, so you're not able to stretch to see the full product name. If you hover over it, the pop-up should show the full name. But this truncated name is also displayed in the PDF export. And then we have other duplicate medicinal products available for selection, unfortunately. These appear because there are some synchronization routine errors that occasionally are creating duplicate products. And again, these duplicates would create an error in the form. So we do ask you that in those cases, please report it to us, of course, but you may have to move to use the interactive PDF in some of these cases. Then we have fixed the product selection filtering in our new product search, but there are still some glitches in it. We are working, and hopefully the fix will come out on the 28th of October. Especially searches using the authorized dose form may not work as expected. I will soon demonstrate how the product selection works, and you may in the live training see some of these issues. And then we also have an issue with the level of detail on the PDF export for non-centrally authorized products, especially if they have been authorized in a medicinal product level. So at this point, I could almost say maybe don't do the exports because you may see errors, you might be alerted. But of course, I also understand that you may be quite keen to see how the PDF exports look. So of course, if you see that there are issues, just don't report them. We are aware and we are fixing them as we speak. We also have this is not actually an issue. It's a business rule that has been implemented, but there is no warning. So if you have selected MRP DCP products, but you haven't linked with the MRP variation number in the export PDF, you wouldn't see those products. The portal UI doesn't indicate that it's a mandatory field until you press validate. So you may think that there's something wrong. Again, this is how the system has been designed, but we're looking into addressing that in a more intuitive way in the user interface. And then a very important note on concurrent users. There is a limitation in the system where 2 or more users can actually log into the very same application form at exactly the same time. It's not like SharePoint. The system will not tell you that your colleague is in the same application together with you. If both of you edit the form and press save. Whoever pressed save first, those changes will be saved, but the other changes will be lost. So please organize a workflow internally that you're not working at the same time in the same form to avoid any data loss. So that's just an important notice. Then we have other issues. This is mainly selecting the conditions and documentations. So when you are selecting your scopes, your classification categories, and for some of those you will need to declare if you are meeting all conditions and if you have provided all the documentations. Sometimes when you click the high-level tick box, you will get an error saying, oh, but you have to select them, and you already have. Just untick the box and tick it again, and this should normally alleviate the issue, or of course, you can select them individually. You may also see an incorrect calculation of number of selected scopes. In the summary page, the correct number is selected in the PDF, and this number may be incorrect when you're first filling in the form. When you leave the form, you come back, the calculation may be correct, sometimes not. This is an intermittent issue, and as with any intermittent issue, they're very, very difficult to fix. So we are aware, we're looking at how to address this, but it is a bit random when it appears. We also have this is a known limitation. So for MRP DCP applications where you have the same contact person for multiple member states, currently, it's not possible to multi-select the member state. This is something that we know has to be there before we can launch the recommended use for non-centrally authorized products. So we're fixing this, and we are hoping that it will be deployed into production in our next production release, end of October. Then there are known issues related to the medical devices section. For example, the EU authorized representative option is currently missing. So if you have a variation that concerns a medical device, you may need to go to the interactive PDF form. Also, we know there are quite a few issues and limitations in the proof of payment section at the moment. So for non-cap variations, it's currently not possible to indicate details for the prepayments, especially when mixed with centrally authorized products. However, EMA doesn't require these details, so you can still proceed to submit applications in production for these mixed procedures, and you may then wish to just simply provide the details on the prepayments as annexes to the member states. Also, the multi-selection of member states for the same payment details currently not possible. So we are fixing these issues, and we're also updating the rules based on the new fee regulation entering into force in the beginning of next year. And we're expecting that these would be in place by end of Q4 this year. We also have a couple of technical limitations with regards to the conditions and documentations, and annexed documents and declarations in the finalization section are displayed in either different order from the classification guideline or in a rather random order. That can change depending on which application you're working on. These are technical limitations. Again, something quite complex to fix, but it's not really an issue. You can read the conditions and documentation. We understand it may be annoying that it's not in the same order as it is in the classification guideline, but it doesn't prevent you from doing what you're trying to do. And same with the order of the declaration and the annexed documents. It may be slightly annoying that the order changes, but it's not preventative. Okay, so now let's move into a live demonstration of the system. So I will now share my screen to show you the actual PLM portal eAF. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you. So here we have the PLM portal. I am currently not logged in yet because I wanted to show you how to log in. So as you know, we have in the PLM portal the three different products, the eAFs, electronic product information, the EPI, and of course, the product management services, so the product UI. So I will now log in. I hope everything's working with the sharing. Still got some error message. So now we'll sign into the form. And once we are signed in, we can then access the forms. So you can see more information. Getting some pop-up here, apologies. So we get some more information. Of course, important to note, on this website, we also have our news. So for example, our announcement on the non-CAPS data available in the system. But then, of course, we have the option to create new application forms and view forms that we have already previously created in the system. And please note that I am using the production system here in this demo today. I have, let's say, a super user right, so I can see all the applications created by all users of this system. So I have a lot more on the list than a normal average user would have. But of course, as you move on and you start creating more and more applications, a list of forms available to you will also grow here. So it could be that you only see one or two entries. When you click here in the bottom, load more, then you can see forms that you have created. If you are a coordinator, so with the highest access rights, you will also see the forms that have been created by your colleagues. So here, with the forms that we have already created, we have different tabs. We have the forms that we're currently editing that are in draft status. We have forms that we no longer want, which you can deactivate. We currently don't yet have the option to delete, but deactivation is basically the same. So they will go away from your draft view. So eventually they can be then deleted. We have the completed forms. So this is where the form moves once you have finalized your application. So basically you're ready to submit. You say now finalize, and export in the system is triggered, and then the form moves here to complete it. If you need to, for whatever reason, you have completed the form, you look at the export and you realize you've made a mistake, you can reopen that form. So that's not an issue. So we have options here to change, either to edit, copy, i.e. which is kind of clone. So if you think into the PDF interactive eAF, this is the same as saving it with a different name. You can view and manage the co-authors. So who else is invited to edit this particular application? Or if you have coordinators in your organization, they have explicit access to your application, so you can see those people in this tab. You can deactivate, you can see the exports of the form that have been done, and then of course you can rename the application. So let's imagine now during this familiarization period, you may create a form, but come January, you think, you know what, now I want to submit this. You can just rename that application. You don't need to create a new one, because we are, of course, in the production environment. So this is not, we're not calling it a UAT, we're not calling it a pilot. It is a period where you can explore the system. It is prior to optional use, but it is not really a test. So it just gives you time without any pressure to familiarize yourself with this system. So now let's go into a previously created form. So we would click in here just simply by clicking the variation form ID or clicking here, edit application form. And then the form that has been previously created will appear. if we wish to create a brand new application form, we click here, create new eAF, or we can select from the drop-down menu, new application form. It does exactly the same, so it doesn't matter. We can give it a name. So this friendly name is the name that is shown in the list of applications. And as I mentioned, this friendly name can be changed as many times as you would like. Just try and make it intuitive so that if you need to go back to your application, you know what that application form was about. But if you give it a silly name and you want to rename it, you can do that at any time. So let's call it a test form. Here, reference marketing authorization holder. So any, let's call it a real user, so you as an applicant's marketing authorization holders, you would have a list of companies that you are affiliated to. Most of you would have just one company where to select from. Because as I mentioned, I have these super user rights. I see all marketing authorization holders from OMS. So if I do a test form, I tend to use the European Medicines Agency as the MAH. So you don't suddenly, as a coordinator, see forms created by me or my colleagues in the system. Then you select. So let's imagine these are the two options that are available for you. You will select the company that you wish to be the reference the reference marketing authorization holder, and you click select. Once you have selected, you see all the information, including the log ID, the org ID, the address, the customer account number for this organization. If you realize it is incorrect, you can simply click here, this X, and you can launch the search for the reference MAH again. Please note that once you click create and next, it is not possible to change the organization again. So if you have selected an incorrect organization, you cannot edit that. You would have to maybe deactivate that application form and create a brand new one. It is not possible to change the MAH after you have created the application form. So let's create a next. And in here, we will see who are the co-authors. So I can add co-authors. So these would be colleagues from my organization who I would like to work with me on this particular application. And as I mentioned, coordinators will have implicit access to all application forms from their organization. So if you have a coordinator status, you will see, or if you have a manager access, you can see who else from your company can see your applications. In this case, because this is a different profile, I don't have any colleagues who can see my application. So now we come to this new search grid. So as the very, very first step, we always recommend that you start by adding a product. So you must click this little button here in a corner. We know not maybe the best intuitive place to put a button to start with the product search. This will launch a search grid. We are changing this in our new designs, which we will be implementing at a later stage. This is the new search grid that I mentioned. In here, it's likely that you may have more than 10 products. So you can already change this to 100 rows if you wish. You don't necessarily have to do this step at all if you want to. I'll do this just to show you. You can click here in this exclamation mark without filling any attributes, which will launch then a list of first 10 products or first 100 products available for you for selection. So here we can see a list of products. Here you can also see the question marks, as I mentioned. Just wanted to show you that. But of course, then it is possible to use different search criteria. You can use the country name. And normally you can just click enter. You don't have to press the exclamation mark. Sometimes there's a little glitch and pressing the enter doesn't do anything. In those cases, you may wish to click the exclamation mark. You may even wish to click the refresh button here. Sometimes it gets a little bit jammed and you might need to click this browser-free refresh button, which will of course clear all your search criteria. Then a little limitation I forgot to mention. If you, we have this button, so we have a column visibility. So if you think I don't care about the RPI and the MPID, I'll take them away. You will see that the search criteria that I entered here for the authorization country disappears. Now, if I wanted to search deeper, for example, for tablets, from this country that I have selected, because the system has forgotten that I had put in the authorization country here. And if I click to search, it will just give me the authorized dose form from all the countries, not just from that country. And perhaps searching by authorized dose form wasn't a good idea. As I mentioned in our known issues, we have a bit of an issue with the authorized dose form. Now it worked. And as you can see, suddenly the authorization country was forgotten and I'm now getting tablets, but I'm getting the tablets from all countries. Of course, one of the best ways to search is to use the MA number. However, for some products, the MA number field may be empty. If the authorization is simply on the packaged medicinal product level, it could be that there is no MA number at all, as you can see. So, of course, you cannot search using the MA number as the search attribute. Again, for the most products, it is there. So if you don't have a MA number on a medicinal product level, you will need to use different search criteria. Again, for MRP products, MRP DCP products, or for centralized procedure, this MRP CP number field is a great search criteria. You will easily find your products using this, or you may wish to use combination of the MRP number and the country field, for example. So you will find the most easiest ways for you to use this grid. But of course, you may have hundreds of products available to you, and it can be perhaps sometimes frustrating because there are some data issues. It may not always be 100% clear what it is that you're getting. So there may be similar names to the product, and you don't know which one it is that you need to select because you cannot see the packages underneath at this point. We're also improving this further with our new user interface design. So bear with us, but it is still, it does work. So for example, if we search here, let's just do something what you wouldn't, of course, do in real life. So if we put the MRP number there and we click to search, then we should get only products with that MRP number. And then let's imagine this list is really long, and now I want to further filter to only get the products from a specific country. Like so, then we can select the product. We can continue searching. Now, what about my products from a different country? So, for example, if you have a very large work sharing procedure with a lot of different products from different countries, you can then, a typo. Then of course, it may help to do it this way. So then we can select another product. So then we have a little, so to say, shopping basket function here. So you don't need to click save at every turn. You can simply collect the products that you wish to have in your application by doing different search criteria and then adding the product. So you can see that I have two rows selected, and then we can launch another search. perhaps for a different MRP number. So this is just really, of course, this is not a realistic scenario at all. I'm just showing you something that could be used in your various scenarios. So now we have selected 4 different products. Now I click save. What happens when you click save is there is a little time when the system is processing, and then you get this pop-up. Just a moment. Please wait while we're adding the selected products into your application. Depending on how many products you've added, this pop-up may be here for 30 seconds or for quite some minutes. We are working to improve this and shorten the time. But why we implemented this is to prevent you doing other changes to the form while we're adding these products into your application. Now, all these products have been added here. We can expand to see the packages under these products to see that these are in fact the products that we wanted to select for this particular application form. We realize, oh, we've done a mistake. I didn't want this product. To remove a product from here, I will click Add Product and I will go View Selected Products, and I can remove this product from here. I could also go back to View Available Products and search for another product. So select that other product. Now you can see I have again 4 rows selected. I deleted something and now I'm adding this. I click Save and now my changes will be saved. And we get the maintenance pop up again, because in the background, we must remove the details of the product we initially selected and added into the Fire XML. And then we need to add this newly selected product. So that's why this maintenance pop up comes up again. Now it is there, and now we can see the product that I selected instead. And here we can see this product has 3 times the same MA number. It depends how the products are authorized in a different member states. So we would expect this appearing just once in our PDF export. However, if the MA number was different, like in some countries where the authorization is on the package medicinal product level, like Italy or Lithuania, we would then see all the packages listed in section 2 of the PDF. So if we think about the PDF export, it looks almost identical to today's interactive PDF eAF. So in section 2, you're listing your products or packages that are impacted by that variation. Here you can see you cannot select anything here. You've selected the medicinal products, but you cannot select any packages in this view. This is not an error. This is by design. So then we can move forward. We can go now to add, if you think the interactive PDF, this would be the scope selection, the classification categories. So again, you click in the right-hand corner at scope. Now still, you can't select anything here. You must click here. Again, we are improving this. We know this is not ideal. Then here, slightly different from the interactive PDF, you don't select from a drop-down menu, but you will have to enter here. And please note, for example, B1, B2, it's not number 1, but it is a Roman 1, so it's actually a letter I, then B, and we can click to search here. So the more you type in here before you launch the search, here enter doesn't work. You must click the exclamation, the magnifying glass. Then you get a selection. You could also use text as a search criteria. You want to put a star, and you can find like this. So, you have different ways of searching. So we will be improving this in our new release for the improved usability. But today you should be, in principle, be able to do exactly what you're doing today. So if you don't feel that you're finding the scope that you need, you can of course first type B and press the search magnifying glass. Then you add I and then press again. So you can move like today's interactive PDF, or you can simply type and then select. So here, let's take this classification scope. Then we click select. And now here, depending, this works exactly like in the interactive PDF. So these two procedure types are available for this particular scope. So we will select, let's select the type 1B, because I think if I've mixed MRP products and purely national products, I think you cannot do a type 1A at this moment. We are updating these rules now in the view of the new variation regulation, but today I think it would not let me, and it will tell me that this scope, it's not possible to do this, but actually we can check. No, it does let me. So here we can select the potential implementation date from the calendar, exactly like today in the interactive PDF, or we can simply type here upon approval, or whatever we want to say. Here, you might remember I mentioned in the known issues, if I select all of these, I may get an error. It is very intermittent. It doesn't happen every time. But also, like in the interactive PDF, if I do not have all the documentations, or I want to add a bit of detail, I can do that there, and I can save. And then it means I don't have to tick that. But I can also tick that. So I'm still meeting the condition, but I want to add a note here. I can still do that and save. And then I click save. Aha, see now, as I mentioned earlier, it could be that the combination of selected products and scopes is not allowed. So here I must have selected some MRP products and purely national products. And of course, it is not today possible to do such a thing, especially when the products are from randomly different companies, because this is not a realistic scenario. This is what happens. Now I would need to then, of course, either fix my scope selection or my product selection. In this case, I will click here in the X, and I will now select type 1B and click here. In this case, because of the documentations and conditions are the same, the selections that I had earlier are kept, and then I can click save. In some cases, if these options are not available, you would lose what you have entered there. In here, we can then look further into the details of that selected scope, the procedure type, and the notes that we added. If we had an implementation date, of course, that's not relevant for type 1B. If we now wanted to, we actually have multiple of these same scopes, we can just quickly say clone scope, exactly like you can do in the interactive PDF today. So on the background, instead of you having to do all that again and select all those conditions and documentations again and add all those notes again, you simply clone that scope and it will appear in the list. You can see now the calculation has worked. It says I have 2 of these scopes added into my application. We can expand the details. If we then want to change something about, for example, in the second one and add a different note, this is also possible. So we simply edit the scope. I won't do that now to save time, but just to show you that's possible. Then we can save the application and we move to the procedural information section. So this section is mainly pre-filled by the system. There's a lot of fields where you can't change anything at all. So it's a human form. This is a grouping. because I selected two scopes. I have selected decentralized products authorized through decentralized procedure and purely national procedure, which makes it a work sharing because it's a type 1B, which we can see here. So you no longer need to select these in the section 1 of the interactive PDF. So this is all auto calculated for you. What you will need to do in case of type 1B and type 2, you will need to indicate the changes concerns. So for example, say other. Because we have a work sharing procedure, we will need to include a procedure number. And then we, of course, need to select the reference member state for this procedure. So here we can see we have products from 3 different countries. I will select one of these countries as the reference member state. As we're in Amsterdam today, I will select Netherlands, and then the system will calculate, and in a little while, perhaps after I save, you will see the Netherlands will disappear from the CMS list, and you will see that it has been selected as the RMS. There. So now reference member state Netherlands, and the concerned member states are Denmark and Germany. I will then need to fill in the marketing authorization holder contact details, so phone number and an email address. And here you need to make sure it's in the correct format. We will then fill in the contact person. As I mentioned, if you have the same contact person, say for Netherlands and Germany, you cannot select both, but you would have to provide contact details multiple times. So this is something that we're fixing. So it should be there end of October. So here you would enter the details. Like so. Now I've selected Netherlands. And then you would select the company where this application contact person is coming from. Just for the sake of doing this quickly, I will select, let's imagine that was the organization I wanted, and I click Save. You can, of course, change that organization if you've made a mistake here. And please note, for centralized procedure applications, this contact person can then be updated in Iris, but this is less relevant for today's training. And here you can see our contact point for Netherlands. Now, if we wanted to add a different contact point for the other 2 countries, we would do it here. In future, you would be able to indicate that it is the same for multiple countries or add multiple. Again, that is done. So we move to, I didn't click save, so it just reminds me, have you sure you've saved everything? So then we move to the maybe one of the most important sections of the form, so the present and proposed. So in here we will include the precise scope for change. So you can add loads of text here, even images if you want. Then, because it's a work sharing, you might need to include some justification details here. And please always make sure you save here before you move to another section, because you might just lose your changes if you don't click save fast. Now, the present and proposed. So this is something where we are working to improve. We know this is definitely not an ideal. This looks quite confusing. You get these red things. Well, I can't even select what I want to do. What do I need to do? So you click here, add present and proposed. Then, very, very important. If your change doesn't affect any organizations, you must tick the declaration, just like in the interactive PDF. But in here, if you haven't done it before, you will get an error later. Also, very, very important. Please, if you do have organizational details. Please do them first before you start typing text in here, because otherwise, when you go to save, you will then get this issue. No, you have to declare it as you can't save. So we always recommend, in order not to lose any changes, select the organizations before. So here, if you cannot find the organization that you need to, you can select the present organization from all active locations or all inactive locations. But if none of this information, the company that you need is not available here, you can tick this box and you can then manually enter details here, address, and so forth. And then with the proposed organization, you must select from OMS. This is not possible to manually enter. You select that organization. Of course, you fill in the email address and telephone number, possibly the DUNS number, and you click save. First, country field is mandatory. And let's save. So here we have some built-in validation rules. They are not always fully consistent. As you can see, we now can see the information for the present organization and for the proposed organization. Because we manually entered the details, we will need to click here to see the actual details. There they are. We can edit them if we wish. The editing button is here at the very end. Or if it's completely wrong, we can delete all of that. Let's leave it in. And then we, in here, in present and proposed section, you would include the details of your changes, just like you do today. As you can see, there's no plus buttons. There's nothing to add another section. If you need to do that, you would need to either repeat this section, or if you have a lot of changes and you want to keep the present and proposed sections, let's say in the same level, so if you want to, for example, show changes in a PI or whatever, you might then need to enter here. This is not ideal, hence why we are working on it. We are hoping that a much, much improved present and proposed section will be available for you before end of this year. And we know currently in the web-based application form, we quite often see please see annex. And I fully understand why, because this is not the best user-friendly implementation. You can include annexes and tables. There's a lot of editing options, but the fact that it's hard to keep them in the same level so that how they are seen in the PDF, it's definitely not ideal. If you have a variation with the ASMF number, you can include that here. And then we move to linking scopes and medicinal products. So in here, I have two scopes. So it could be that this is mainly for centralized procedure. I don't think this is a valid scenario even for non-centrally authorized products, but you can indicate which change impacts which medicinal product or package of a medicinal product. So we'll need to look at if we need to refine this further or autofill something in here for non-centrally authorized products. But here you can use this high level to select both scopes, or you can select just one of them. You then come to select the impacted medicinal products. So which products are impacted by the change in that category. When you click here on a high level, all of them are selected, or you can simply select just one if you wish. And then, because this is non-cap application, and for all of these countries, the products are authorized on a medicinal product level. By default, all packages are selected. If this was a product from Italy or Lithuania or from one of the other countries where the authorization is on a packaged medicinal product level, you would be able to indicate for which particular package you are making the change. So let's imagine you have a package, a certain package size for which you are changing the package manufacturing side. You could indicate just that particular package. You don't have to select all of them. Whereas when the authorization is on the medicinal product level, you will select all of them, and that detail would be provided in a different way. So here we can select all of them, and then we click Save. There, we can now go back to, once that is saved, we can go back to the product selection, and we can actually see now these tick boxes have been filled. You cannot untick them here because they are selected in a different section. And also we forgot to do something very important that I even mentioned under the known issues. So we need to associate the MRP number with the products in this particular application. So for example, here, when I click associate MRP number, so we might have an MRP variation number. Of course, you wouldn't do it like this, but this is just a quick test case. So let's see, for this one and for this one, these have the same number. So I will associate this variation number. I click update, and you can see the number appears here. Then I have this other another one, and I select that particular product, and I click update, and now we can see the other number here. Of course, we also have the nationally authorized product selected in this particular variation, but because it is nationally authorized, there is no MRP variation number, so we don't add it here. We click return, and we can see the MRP variation number field has appeared here. And we can then see, of course, the nationally authorized product that doesn't have it. Click save. If for whatever reason we needed to make any further changes in the present and proposed, we can go back there and edit. You can see this is the change that we created. Again, to see it, you have to view or edit. You can completely delete it. Again, if this change was related to something what we call structured changes, so it would be a medical device change, or you're changing your ATC code or PMS master file, then you would click here, and then other options will pop up. Due to the time constraint, I'm already running late. I won't be doing that. And then in here, if there are other parallel variations, you can click them. Click here and then add details here and save. And then the finalization section, because today you can't really submit these forms yet, we'll just do a super quick look at this section without going into detail. So as in the interactive PDF, you've got the annex documents where appropriate. So if you have changes for the package leaflet, you will, or any other changes, you will select them there. We then have here, actually, I forgot to mention in our known issues, sometimes this declaration of the applicant section is a little bit temperamental. It doesn't open as it should. Now, there it is. If it doesn't, please click validate, and this will, because there are mandatory fields here, it will give you a red arrow here. When you click to the red arrow, that section will open and you'll be able to include your details there. So as today in the interactive PDF, you select the options as applicable. You can then indicate one of the three options when the changes will be implemented in the next production run. You can use a calendar picker, or you can add a comment. If you don't even have a comment, you don't want to say anything, just enter NA. You don't want to tell this information. You don't have to, like so. Then Importantly, you can indicate if there are any parallel variations or any harmonization. I think there might be some error in here. Have to look into that, but you can provide the details. You can select the procedure numbers and products, but we'll look at that section in further training sessions. Then you can indeed include the details for the proof of payment. So if no, you will provide payment details. If yes, you can add the details on the current payment. And then finally, you've got the signatory section. So you've got the main signatory and additional signatory. So you add the details in here. You can, of course, always export at any point. You can export to view the form, or you can simply click to finalize, which will run a validation. We also have the validate button, which will then highlight any errors in the form, which you can see, and then you can move to finalize the form, and it will move into your completed forms section. Then to see an actual application form that has been generated from the system, you can see it looks almost identical to the one, to the interactive PDF. So you can see the details here. The boxes are ticked. I didn't fill in a contact person for this particular one. You can see the section 2 with the MRP variation number, the active substances, the packages, details on the changes, and so forth. So very, very similar to the current interactive PDF. And that's how you fill in the application form. So unfortunately, we're running a bit late. I do apologize. So we must move to the Q&A. Thank you. So let's take the most important questions.
Yes. Okay. So we have a lot of questions. We might not be able to, actually, we will not be able to answer them all. But just as a reminder, we will have a dedicated Q&A session on the 25th of October. You'll find soon on the website the link for the registration. And we'll also try to answer those in writing. Those that will not be answered orally will be answered in writing. So let's take the first one. For a DCP with multiple different MAHs, do I need a role for each and every MAH organization?
Yes. So if you wish to add the products for those different organizations, you would need to be affiliated to those different organizations. Otherwise, the products will not appear available for selection for you. So yes, indeed, you will need that.
Perfect. And let's go to the next most voted one. If you receive a comment by an authority on your submitted eAF, is it possible to amend the same eAF, or do you need to create a new form?
Good question. And this is something I probably should have explained. But indeed, so you can amend the same eAF. Of course, let's imagine the situation you have already completed that application. So here, I would always say, well, keep the one that you completed, but create a clone of that form that you submitted and then edit the clone. So you will keep your original always intact, but of course you could amend that. But better process would be always to keep the original and then create the clone of that, edit the clone, and again you will finalize the clone. It will move into your completed section, so you will have a full register of what did you initially submit and what were the changes that were requested by the authority.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Is there a test portal for use of new eAFs for non-CAPs?
Well, good question, but we don't actually need a test portal. You can go into the production environment. there is a UAT environment, and some of you may have a registration for that UAT environment, but we do not recommend you to use that. It has very, very, very limited number of products, and it may not work as well as the production. So you can actually use the production system for your training and familiarization processes, just like you would use the interactive PDF. You just do your thing, then you can, once you've done, you can just deactivate those forms. Eventually, hopefully early next year, we will have ability to delete forms so we can get rid of those test forms. But it is not needed to use a test portal. You are all invited to use the actual production system to look at your new non-centrally authorized products.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question. Is there any discussion ongoing between EMA and CMDHs and national CAs to define a common rule regarding the need to include or not the signature on the eAF after the download from the PLM portal?
Great question. And I realize, again, something that I should have explained earlier and I didn't. So with this exported PDF, you can include a real digital signature, you can do an Adobe signature, or you can even include an image of a signature. But very importantly, during our previous discussions with our SMEs from CMDH, it was kind of concluded that signature is not required. We can see that this form has been created from the PLM portal, and we're also including something what we call an integrity stamp. It is not yet available, but this integrity stamp will be a digital signature included into the form when you click finalize. So in the finalized PDF, you would have this signature saying that this has been generated from the EMA PLM portal. So, it's just for the regulators to know that this is a genuine form. But additionally, you can include your company's signature if you wish to do so.
Thank you so much. So the variations guideline is going to be replaced with a new version likely at the beginning of 2025. Will the new guideline be implemented in a PLM portal in parallel with its issue?
Yes, indeed. So, for example, if you remember where I was selecting the type 1A, where I had nationally authorized product and DCP products. So today, according to the variation regulation, that's not possible. In beginning of 25, when the variation regulation enters into force, that will be possible. So we are currently implementing those changes into the web-based form. Then there will be the actual variations guideline. The classification annex is also going to change. That will happen slightly later, probably Q2, Q3 next year. So we will be implementing, of course, the new classification status categories into the form, but this will happen later on. So now we are just amending it so that the new regulation will be reflected in the form. And that's one of the reasons also why we wanted to align the use for MRP DCP purely national procedures with the new updated variation regulation so that we don't need to change the rules multiple times in the form.
Perfect, thank you. Let's go to the next question. Hi, what is the refreshment period, I think, between eAF and XVMPD data? How much time I will see updates from XVMPD in eAF?
Good question. Marcos, maybe it would be better.
I'm here. Yeah. So the data that you are submitted to XVMPD, it first needs to go to PMS, and from XVMPD to PMS, the change is almost instantaneously, so you will see it in the PMS API. But from the PMS API to the PLM portal, so product UI and also eAF, it takes a little bit more time because we need to run the integration with all the products that we have. So Right now, it's around a couple of hours since you submit your change in XMPD until you're able to see it in the PLM portal, so either eAF or the product UI. We will be working on the improvement of this performance, but for the moment, this is the time that it needs the data to go from one place to the other.
Thank you, Marcus.
Let's go to the next question. So for MRP, DCP, is it possible to select products with different MAH? How to do that?
Yes, indeed, it is possible. However, in that case, the author needs to be affiliated with the different MAHs, or you need to invite colleagues from different organizations to edit that application form. So this really depends on your organizational structure, how you want to do this, and how much access the other colleagues can have to your products in general. But indeed, let's imagine this simple scenario where colleagues are affiliated to different companies. You're on a global level company. There are no secrets between the sister companies. So you simply are affiliated as a manager to the other MAH. You will select one company as the reference MAH. And then you simply select all the products that you need for that particular application. In another scenario, you select the products from your company. You invite another colleague to author your application. They will go to the same application form, ideally at a different time, not the same time so that we don't lose any changes. And they will add the products that they want to add into that application. And you can do that as many times as needed. So there are different ways to do that depending on the affiliation and how much do you want another person to see of your products.
Thank you. Let's get to the next most voted. So when will all of these be mandatory for non-caps?
Great question. So let's first get it into strongly recommended use, which should hopefully come from beginning of next year. Then, as in the timeline slide, so we will need to make sure that all minimum viable features are there so that you can use that form for every single type of variation that you may use the interactive PDF today. Once we are certain that we have all these features available, we will then do a UAT. The UAT will be in the production environment, just to confirm that we can do everything. Upon a successful outcome of that UAT, we will then launch when that transitional period will start. So there will be a 6 months transitional period during which you can still, if you need to use the interactive PDF, we may find further issues during that period. We'll have time to fix them. And at the end of the transitional period, there will be the mandatory use will commence. And at that point, we will then deprecate the interactive PDF, or it cannot be anymore used for new variation applications. Of course, if you have something ongoing that you've started with that form, you would go through to the end with that particular form.
Thank you. So the next question is a bit similar, but when can the eAF PLM actually be used to submit non-caps to national agency, or will it stay a form only?
No, so from beginning of January, we are hoping that you can submit this web-based eAF into the national agencies. Of course, when I say that the eAF will be submitted, it means you click the finalize button, you have your export, you take your exported PDF that contains the Fire XML, you include it inside your ECTD sequence, and you submit it to the national agency. So you don't just click submit and it miraculously goes to the national agencies. You will still need to do that normal submission process. But that should start from beginning of January next year.
Okay, so we'll go to the next question. In the meantime, at the same QR code for the slider, you also find a poll for this webinar that you can express your liking and leave your comments there. So I think we'll take maybe 2 more questions and then we'll have to close. So can we download the form before it has been completed to send for review to other colleagues?
Absolutely. So you can export as many times you wish. So the export button will generate a PDF that you can view. So that's the PDF that I presented there a little while ago. So you can repeat this step as many times as you need to. But before you actually want to submit the application before you include it in your ECTD package, please click the finalize so you get all the validation checks and we know that the form has moved to finalized, and eventually it will also have that integrity stamp in there. So that's very good process to do.
Perfect. So last question, will there be a maximum number of users per organization allowed to participate to the UAT?
We will launch information about the UAT very soon. I think let's try and take the next question there, because we have a lot of a lot of upvotes, and Marcos is here with Veronica, so they can address this package size.
Of course. So do we need to enter the pack sizes in PMS in order to execute variations in eAF if the products are not on the ULCM, and therefore pack sizes in PMS would not be required?
So here I think we have two aspects. One is regarding the eAF, and I think for some countries there is no need to have all the pack sizes included. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christina. Like for example, in Spain, you just need the medicinal product. You don't need all the pack sizes. I think that is correct, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, but this statement that we have in the question is a bit, we need to take it very carefully. So in XBMPD, there are already business rules that depending on the country, you must submit all pack sizes independently if the product is under the union list of critical medicines or not. So please review chapter 3.2 of XBMPD. If the product falls under this category, you need to submit all pack sizes. Then there is another category of products where you might submit the pack sizes if you want, and another category if they fall under the union list of critical medicines. So please review this chapter very carefully. There is a diagram explaining when you need to submit pack sizes and when you don't have to do it. And then regarding the eAF, Christina, as you mentioned, it depends on the country, but this is aligned with XBMPD. So please review the information there. There's a very clear diagram explaining all this.
Indeed. Thank you,
Thank you very much, Marcus. Okay, so I think we are close to the end. Please do not forget to leave your feedback at the Slido. And we just want to flag to you a few events that are taking place in the near future. So we'll have a Q&A session dedicated to these non-caps on the 25th of October. Then there will be a webinar that will be for NCAs. So it will be on the EU NTC. Then we'll have another training and Q&A session on human variation in eAF. We'll also have another Q&A clinic on the 14th of November. And then we have the usual system demo. If we see that there are a lot of questions, we might also organize additional Q&A clinics to answer all of your questions. So I'll just leave the floor to you, Christina, to just say a few words to close.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Isabella. So indeed, we have recorded this session, and the slide deck and the recording will be available at the events page and in the PLM portal and on the eSubmissions website. So we want to make sure that this information will be available to you. And of course, you can always return also to the EMA's YouTube channel to rewatch this recording if need to. Please note the Slido will stay open. We will try and respond as many questions as we need to that are still open there. And we've also launched the details for the next Slido for the specific Q&A session. So you can already, if you let's say in a few days' time, you have a new question and you really want to ask us, you can already pop that question in the Slido, and we'll of course then start responding to those questions. But thank you so much for your participation, for your great questions, and we'll see you soon in the follow-up sessions. Thank you all.